Good evening, Mayor, City Council, George Harris, Director of Administrative and Community Services. Before you deny on tab number 1, the scheduled and required public hearing that we must have in association with the consideration of water and wastewater rate adjustments, as noticed on the as scheduled and the date was set on at the March 27th. This is the night of the actual public hearing. So I have a brief PowerPoint presentation that I'll go through, at which time I'll go through and reiterate a lot of the information that was presented on the 27th. And we'll conclude answering questions. Just identify myself, Rob Steele, Don Hunt, and Gene Clack, all the staff members that worked on the project, and made the presentation on the 27th. We're here as well to answer any questions that you may have tonight. And then at the end of the presentation, I'll conclude with the recommendations. So on the staff report had a list of exhibits, including the review of the water and wastewater service profile, which really identifies the service areas that we provide those utilities in the city and what type of and the level of service that we provide there. Resolution number 6094 approved on March 27th is exhibit B. We're talking about the prioritized list of the $30 million worth of projects that were proposed on March 27th. And then exhibit number 3 is the actual budget itself that was proposed by SAIC, once again presented previously at the March 27th. Exhibit D are the resolutions that were also passed on the 27th that authorized and initiated the 45-day notice period. The notices that were actually mailed out to the properties are listed as exhibits E and F, and then exhibits G through G, H, I, and J are the actual resolutions that are being presented for consideration. Once again, to reiterate, the city staff that worked on the project, myself, Mike Story, City Administrator Rob Steele, and Gene Clack, and then we had assistance from our consultant team, which consists of Don Hunt, with Fulbright Jaworski, who provided legal advice, Steve DePuja from SAIC, and Art Griffith from SAIC, who actually conducted and performed the rate analysis. The presentation outline will reiterate what the service areas are for water and wastewater, the capital plans that are proposed for the financing component of the entire project, a quick discussion on the catch-up lease payment that's included. We'll go through we'll spend a little bit more time on the rates and the ratepayer benefits. Just to reiterate, the water services that exist and that will be represented by the rates being proposed represent about half of the city's water. About half of the city serves 50,000 residents and 11,400 or so properties. The remaining half of the city is represented and served by the West Valley Water District and the Fontana Water District. If you see on the map, the blue area represents the water customers that we service. On the wastewater side, the wastewater customers are predominantly contiguous with the city boundaries, with the exception of certain areas outside of the city boundaries identified in the lower area of the map, where we service certain portions of the Bloomington area or the unincorporated San Bernardino County area, some portions of the city of Fontana, and a very small portion of the city of Colton. The capital plan that was proposed on March 27th includes a total funding in the amount of $177 million, of which $41 million was proposed to be issued in tax exempt debt for various reasons. $103 million was proposed to be supported with taxable debt. Equity to the tune of $26 million was going to be provided from the equity partners, and fund balance that currently exists was going to support the total funding sources to the tune of $70 million for the total of $177 million. Now, what the plan intention for the use of the financing is broken up into 3 different categories: new funding, the reserves, and transaction costs. The new funding consists of $41 million in new wastewater and water infrastructure projects, rate phasing costs to the tune of $30 million, which I'll explain in the slide later, as well as the catch-up lease payment to fund certain economic development projects to the tune of $30 million. And then there's existing debt that's held in both wastewater and water, which is to the tune of $27 million that was going to be refinanced with the proposed financing. And then there are certain reserves that need to be established with any financing, and that totals $21 million, and then there's another $21 million in transaction costs and due diligence and attorney's fees to process the financing. Of the $41 million in capital projects, $13 million was proposed to go to water, $28 million was proposed to go to wastewater. The total contingent of those projects were estimated to create about 445 local construction jobs for the term of the projects being. This is a quick list. I won't go into a lot of detail because we did do this on the 27th, but this is a quick list of the capital projects proposed for the water investment. They mostly involve improvements to the booster stations, some seismic improvements, improvements to the city wells, water main and valve replacements throughout the city, service line replacements, meter replacements, valve hydrant replacements, and the completion of the master plan. On the wastewater side, multiple sewer main lines were proposed to be replaced with the projects. Adjustments to the fog station, which is the fats, oils, and greases receiving system down at the wastewater treatment plant. The bulk of the improvements on the sewer side were attributable to the actual the treatment plant itself, to the tune of about $17.8 million over 24. On the rate phasing, conceptually, the debt was proposed to be funded this current fiscal year. If that's to happen, payment for that debt is due on day, in the first year. And so, at the direction of the council, we had proposed to phase the rate increase in. However, the debt service payments are due in the first year, so we would be financing the difference for the first 4 years to be able to enable the rates to be phased in over a 4-year period. The total cost of that is to the tune of about $30 million, and that strictly is a component that benefits the ratepayers, to where the rates are phased in and not implemented all at one time. The catch-up lease payment is one where I actually defer to Don Hunt, our legal attorney. He's going to go over the next couple of slides.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. In 2001, the city went through a process pursuant to the Public Utilities Code, to create the Rialto Utility Authority, and considered and ultimately entered into a long-term lease, 55 years, of the water system and the wastewater system. Effectively, the city no longer is in the water and wastewater business. The utility authority is the leasehold owner of the systems, responsible for the financial costs and revenues of the system, and is obligated over that 55-year period to pay the city $162 million as the leasehold cost of the systems. At the end of the 55 years, the systems revert back free and clear to the city. The payments that would have been necessary to amortize that lease payment, if done on a level basis, would have been a little over $10 million a year. And in fact, the utility authority has paid only about a little over $3 million a year on average since 2001. The reason the payments were kept low was to keep the rates as low as possible. But the amount under the lease is owed to the city. The city is entitled to it, and it was done pursuant to the state law that was specifically designed for that purpose. The $30 million that would be used out of the financing, it's proposed to be used, is simply a catch-up of amounts that have accrued because the city has not been making payments that would amortize the full amount of the lease. So I wanted to explain that so that if there are questions, I'm happy to try and answer those. And as already been mentioned, the intent is for the city to invest the $30 million in long-term economic development projects that will benefit the city and eventually provide funding in the source of sales tax and other taxes that will help cushion the impact of the dissolution of the redevelopment agency pursuant to state law. So these planned investments will encourage new private developments in the community, to create jobs, provide additional goods and services, and as I said, generate additional tax revenues for the city to enable the city to continue to operate and provide the services that it's providing. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any questions on that portion.
Not so much a question, but just clarification, and I don't know if it perhaps requires a correction. When you were saying that the city has not been making payments, I thought it was has not been making payments.
I'm sorry, you're correct. Not making payments to the city.
To the city.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. And then the other component, as I mentioned earlier, was the 27 or so million in existing debt that would need to be refinanced with the new proposed financing strategy. And these are the other costs that we talked about, the 21 million in reserves, as well as 21 million in transaction costs, which is very typical with bond finance strategy. The rate study has multiple components in addition to just the capital charges and on the debt service. Operations, reimbursable expenses if we were to utilize a different company to operate the system. The BRUA would retain certain obligations. Operating placement and reserve payments for routine maintenance on the system that may vary from year to year, and so it's not actually built into the actual service component. So whatever those operating replacement and reimbursements are, the BRUA, the utility authority, is actually obligated to cover those. Replenish current reserves as well as the lease payments that Mr. Hunt has talked about. So all of those factors built into the actual construction of the rates. And I know I spent a lot of time talking about the financing component of it, which is that, so that just becomes one component under the bullet point of capital charges. So the proposed rates on water, what you have is two different scenarios. I know that is kind of blurry. But what you have up there is two different scenarios, one including the perchlorate surcharge, one not including the perchlorate surcharge. As we mentioned at the March 27th meeting and prior in our public meetings, if litigation settlement is reached in regards to the perchlorate litigation, then there would be no further need to levy the perchlorate surcharge. And so what you would be looking at is the proposed rates on the right side, table 1B. And until litigation settlement is reached, staff would still have to levy the deferred surcharge to cover those costs, and so those rates is what's presented in the table on the table on the left and table number 1. As a point of comparison, currently the city's water rates, including perchlorate, are at 72% of that of our neighbors. We are not at the level that the majority of our neighbors are. The highest, of course, being the Fontana Water Company at $82.64. We are less than half of what they charge. Moving forward throughout the phase plan, because we don't have a whole lot of data as to what the other agencies propose for the future, what we've done is actually compared the first year rate increase that's proposed to occur on January 1st with the data that we have that's being predicted with at least a couple of those agencies, and we are still less than those proposed agencies. On the sewer rate side, the bulk of the financing is required for the sewer side, as major improvements are proposed to be made at the wastewater treatment plant. Thus, the need for increased support to the sewer side. These are the proposed sewer rates to occur to the tune of the 25%, which were broken down to the 25% cap increase per year for a total of what you see there. And as a point of comparison, we are close to being in line with them now, and they do increase. And because we do not have data on the majority of those other agencies, it's hard to compare moving forward and be able to predict what those other agencies are going to do Since we've gone through this process, we have noticed, though, that multiple other agencies are proposing similar type rate adjustments. And so as the data is available to us, we would present that to the city council and let them know and keep them updated as to how we compare those. So if you are a customer that lies within both the water and sewer customer base, the total rate adjustment that you would expect, including the per cord surcharge, is there in the combined rates in the far right side of the table, and that's adding water and wastewater together. If you are only in the wastewater side, the only portion of that table that's relevant to you is just that center portion of the table, which just discusses the wastewater rates. And once again, the same table eliminating the per cord surcharge if that were to come to fruition.
I'm sorry, but I cannot see your screen at all. Those numbers. And I did come out to see this. Very important. You didn't do that if you focus. So that you can know
What was that comment? I didn't hear it.
can't see it back
Can you please stand up and let us know?
All of the on the left.
I think the extra light is
Back cannot see the one directly.
blurring a bit.
Maybe we can turn the light. Can we turn the light
And
on?
that is the handout.
Maybe, do we have anything to give the audience regarding to this?
The PowerPoint presentation could be made available. I did not prepare copies for continue the folks we have here today. But
Is there any way, that we, city clerk, is there any way we can downlight this area here?
Well, I can turn the lights off, but if the city administrator allows to just have copies available, I don't know if I can have them today, but we can have those tomorrow.
Even on the website. Even on the website.
that is something we can,
I mean, it'll be placed, it's online, you can put it on the
we
website.
can place the slides on the website and they can be downloaded. And we can also make slides, copies of the slides available at our window as well, starting tomorrow morning.
We can have a copy maybe by tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. I have copies for anyone that would like to have copies of what we're showing you today. We can pick it up tomorrow sometime. Or the website also.
As a result of the input provided on March 27th and via council suggesting approval at the April 10th meeting, staff has prepared a low-income and a senior discount program to be initiated concurrently with the application date of the proposed rates on January 1st, 2013. The program will provide for a 20% discount of the total base water rate and the flat wastewater rate. To qualify for the low-income program, a utility customer must present evidence that their total household income falls below the low-income guidelines as indicated and published annually by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is the U.S. Department of HUD, for the San Bernardino County study area. The low-income program customers must submit annual evidence of their income, and failure to do so could be subject to disqualification. What we really want the program for is for folks that really need the program. And so for that reason, we ensure we have an approval process very similar to the exemption program that we have for our utility users tax, that you must maintain eligibility for that program. On the flip side, though, for the senior citizen program, once you prove that you're 65, that you're never going to go below 65. And so there's no need for reapproval for the senior citizen program. So if you are just simply 65 or older, you will qualify for that 20% discount on the flat rate for water and the flat rate for the wastewater rate. And those applications will be created and distributed. And just another point of information for the audience is if you are already receiving the utility users tax exemption, you will be automatically included in the low-income and senior citizen discount program. So there'll be no need to reapply. We have that information already, we might as well, we would use it. Proposition 218, I just want to go over kind of what that process looks like and what we've done already in adherence to it and what is proposed for the rest of the remaining steps of the process. Prop 218 requires that written notice be made to the record property owners regarding the rates, and that a public hearing, which is being held tonight, must be held not less than 45 days after the notice is mailed. Written protests must be received from a majority of the property owners identified in the water and the wastewater service areas respectively. What we did, notices were mailed to all property owners in the water service area, the wastewater service area, during the week of April 23rd through 27th. So during that week, you would have received either one or two notices. So if you were in both service areas, if you received services from the utility authority in both water and wastewater, you would have first received your water notice, and then secondly, you would have received your sewer notice. Property ownership was verified by Wildan Financial Services, and it was sourced directly to the preliminary County of San Bernardino secured tax roll that was released March 27th. So we got the latest information, the latest information released from the county as close to the actual preparation of the notices as we could. A total of 20,816 notices were mailed to the wastewater service area customers, and a total of 11,439 notices were mailed to the properties in the water service area. As a point of reference, the city would have to receive written protests representing at least 10,409 and 5,721 respectively for wastewater and water to overturn the adoption of the rates. And only properties in the respective service areas can be counted as an acceptable reply, i.e. a property outside of the water service area cannot protest water rates. They can only protest the sewer rates if that's because most likely that's the case. If they are not in the water, they are in the sewer. So staff recommendations is for council to open, conduct, and close the public hearing tonight. And in looking at the amount of notice or protests that were delivered here, staff recommends that the council set the date for the city clerk's office to actually tabulate properly all the protest notices and certify the findings for June 19th, which is next Tuesday at 1 p.m. right here in council chambers. And that we actually postpone the consideration of the resolutions until the tabulation of the protest ballots are done properly at the June 19th meeting, which means we would actually continue the consideration for the following resolutions to the June 26th council meeting and to be considered after the tabulation of the protest. So myself, Rob Steele, Don Hunt, Gene Platt, you're all available if you have any questions. But staff recommends that we open the public hearing.
Okay,
I do have a question regarding the last slide. It stated that the notices were mailed to the property owners, and that written protest must be received from a majority of property owners. However, it's my understanding that a protest that's received from a water rate user is also valid. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So they don't have to be a property owner.
They do not have to be a property owner, they just have to have financial interest in the account. But as far as the mailings are concerned, the mailings must be mailed to the property owner of record.
Thank you.
I just have a question.
following up on what Tim just said. So the number that you gave us, 20,816, is based on tax rolls, not necessarily based on the users as well.
So what we did is we identified all the properties that were in our service area. And so if they are not, like for example, we have certain sewer customers that are not connected to the sewer that are within our service area. They could be potentially connected and impacted by these rates, and so they were sent a notice as well.
What if a property owner and a renter of that property both protest and the water bills in the name of the renter?
That is actually a very good question.
How does that be counted?
And so only one represented property can protest. So if you receive multiple protests representing one single property, that protest represents one vote.
Okay, this is a public hearing for anyone that would like to speak on
communications, for tab number 1. So, your recommendation. Okay. Yeah, and what I would like to let you know is that please, when you come to the podium, state your name. I guess you already know this, but I have to say it. Please state your name, address, and remember you have 5 minutes. I believe you have 5 minutes, right? Okay, and if you go over the 5 minutes, you're gonna, the bell's gonna ring or something, we don't want to be disrespectful. So please keep that in mind and say everything you need to say as much as you can in the 5 minutes limitation. And then that way everybody will have a chance to speak. Okay? So with that.
The first speaker would be Matthew Owen.
Oh, and it's something else, but I believe we have people up there at the library and no?
I have staff up there, so they'll listen to you as well, and they'll bring over their information.
Okay, so if anybody,
You have that information.
okay, thank you. If everybody's at the library or down here at this next door to us, if you're listening, or watching on TV, we'll give you time for you to come and you hear your name mentioned, so you can have a chance to speak. Okay.
Hello again. It's good to be at this microphone so I can look both ways. I don't have to do that. Well, here we are. And first of all, credit where credit's due. Thank you very much for standing against that enlargement of the pipeline. Last thing you need in Rialto is a repeat of what happened on Duffy Street over in San Bernardino.
Mr. Owen, would you state your name and address?
Yes, of course. Matt is Matthew Owen, out of 2874 Buena Vista Drive in Rialto. So, yes, credit where credit's due. You don't want a repeat of the conflagration that consumed the neighborhood back in San Bernardino when a train ran over a smaller pipeline, existing one. Now, it's business at hand about the rate increases. As you've already noted, and thank you for noting it, you've received a number of protests, okay? And on our campaign, Save Our System, we are very much hoping that we have exceeded the number necessary to squash this rate increase. We've already gathered signatures on a legislative petition that's going on the ballot about the long-term privatization. We gathered twice as many. So, as far as how our campaign has been going, it's been a long, strange trip. Okay, last meeting, some of our organizers were red-baited. I myself have not been subject to police harassment, but I've gotten in numerous reports of police harassment of our campaigners at other locations. What else? Oh, yes. I've had very interesting exchanges with folks from the Central Labor Council, very informative. They noted that, yes, we are working with the Utility Workers Union, and doesn't it feel strange to be used by the Utility Workers Union? Well, I'd rather be used by the Utility Workers Union than be used by the Rialto Chamber of Commerce, which by default is the position that a certain section of that Central Labor Council is taking. Okay, so don't think that what we're doing is anti-union. It's an internal dispute, trust me. Okay, but mainly I see the past on my right, the future on my left. Okay, you're the future. Okay, you're the democracy. This is what democracy looks like, and thank you so much for coming. I don't know how many of the folks on my right are still going to be here in a few years. I know that the one councilman who stood with us is running for a different office, and if he succeeds, good luck. That office will remain vacant, wink. Okay, but whether there's a recall in the offing, I don't know. I do know one thing. The folks on my right, by trying to extend the abuse that helped to bring down redevelopment agencies of eminent domain laws to take from you the 99% and give to the 1%, have awakened a sleeping giant and fooled us. It's a terrible result. Thank you.
Mando. Mr. Brockhouse, you'll be up.
Okay. Hi, my name is Van Dill. I live at 18845 Buckskin Drive in Bloomington, California. And I'm here to formally protest against Proposition 218 regarding the sewer rates increases. So basically in the letter it stated that by 2016, the Rialto citizens will be paying about $60 a month for sewage, for just sewage fees. Now the thing is, what really concerns me in our community is that in our community we actually pay 3 times more than what the Rialto citizens pay today. So today the Rialto pays about maybe $25, but we actually pay about $77 a month for sewer rates. So if we don't do anything about 218, in 2016 we will actually be paying $180 per month for sewage rates, which is outrageous, you know. And basically that's about $120 more than what Rialto citizen will be paying, you know, during that time. So basically, I'm just protesting here because, you know, we're already first of all paying a really high premium for this service and necessity, and you know, a lot of the people in the community aren't really earning a lot of high income. So you know, it's going to be, you know, they need to be able to afford this basic necessity going forward. So I'm basically here just to urge everyone to submit a formal protest or submit a letter to I think the city council chambers and the city clerk to protest against this, because it's going to affect everyone in this room with this rate increase. So that's what I'm here for.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is John Brockhouse. I am a certified public accountant and resident of Rialto. I have been here for 22 years. I have served on several civic boards, none of which I am giving their comments. This project has to go forward as rapidly as possible. We do not know what is down there. We could easily get ourselves in a situation that Los Angeles Department of Water and Power is in. We could have outages. I have crunched the numbers a bit. I think that the amounts are maybe on the high side, but they're there. And I would hope as the project goes ahead, as we have efficiencies, the council in effect at those points in time will make the necessary reductions. But right now, we've got to examine what's down there. If the main lines go, and I'm thinking the ones down Riverside Avenue, we are going to be in a world of hurt. I have been without sewer for a week, and let me tell you, it is no fun. Lots of costs. And I would hope that the City Council would complete the Prop 218 vote as soon as possible and not let any petitions from a minority of individuals get in the way of rapid implementation of the project.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Peggy Conrad.
My name is Peggy Conrad. I live at 18742 Buckskin Drive in Bloomington, right down the street from our previous speaker. I too am protesting the fact that we're paying 3 times more for our utilities. I do agree that they probably should go up a little bit, but ours are going to be totally out of sight. And I've been informed over the years that I am receiving a discount. Now I find out everyone in the whole tract is paying the same amount that I am. So I can see that we do need a little increase, but ours will be ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Christy Burkett.
Good evening, council members. My name is Christy Renee Sloboda Burchett, and and I'm the granddaughter of the previous speaker. So 18742 Buckskin Drive in Bloomington. She also lives in, we live in an incorporated area, so we have 3 times higher, as the previous speaker had said, rate than the other citizens in Rialto. But we support the community here, I say the majority of the community here, and don't want to see a raise for the sewer and the water fees that are before you. Thank you very much.
Mark Brooks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. My name is Mark Brooks. I live at 521 Central Avenue, Nashville, Tennessee. I want to thank you for your indulgence for listening to hearing from my Tennessean. I want to thank, in particular, your city clerk and her fine staff. We've been making many demands on her and her staff over the past year or so, especially with public records requests, and they've always responded with great professionalism and diligence. I am with the Utility Workers Union of America. Although I'm from Tennessee, I should say that our union has members who live in this community and have a stake in this debate. More particularly, we've been really proud to work with the people of Rialto, California over the past year through the community group SOS Rialto Water. We've been proud to assist local residents to assert their rights, first to petition for a referendum over this proposed privatization, partial privatization of your water and sewer services. And second, more recently, to help people try to exercise their Proposition 218 rights to protest against the water rate increases. I should say that, our organization, we're in favor of water and sewer and utility infrastructure improvements. And we understand, like most people I've talked to, and we also understand quite clearly, that rates have to go up sometimes to be able to allow that to happen. What a lot of people have been concerned about, that expressed to us, is great concern that if rates have to go up, it shouldn't go up even another nickel to finance an out-of-state private corporation that wants to make profit off of the pocketbooks of the people here in Rialto. I do want to be brief because this decision will be made by the people of Rialto, as it should be. I simply wanted to state on the record that our local community group, working with local citizens, have turned in, for the record, we've turned in several thousand protests for the Prop 218 process. There are a total of 7,956 that we've submitted there. 4,836 of those, as far as we can tell from the somewhat incomplete data the city has given us, 4,836 of those are in the water department. And you can tell that, by the way, very clearly from our notices, water in the water department, and then water, of course, they're all sewer, which are in water and have the right to protest water, as well as to protest the sewer rate increases. Of course, we expect the city to review and tabulate those and report to the public. What we don't know, of course, is how many other people have submitted protests independently of our efforts. And so we're optimistic that once all the counting is done, we'll find that a majority of folks have protested against these rate increases. I do thank you for your time and also for your public service.
Thank you, sir. I'll apologize right up front because I'm probably going to pronounce his name wrong, but it would be Rita McAllen. Rito. Is it Rito? You're going to have to pronounce your last name for me, sir.
Pronounce the name. Magallanes. I pronounce all the other names.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I did the same thing as the gentleman. I live in Bloomington.
Your name and address.
Oh, my name is Rito Magallanes Jr. I live at 10540 Lark Avenue, Bloomington, California, 92316. I got the same proposal as the gentleman here. The only thing, my idea is, in the gentlemen that were doing that project, look a little more to see who was paying more, who was not paying anything. See, we supply Rialto was $9,800 a month just on the young home area from Bloomington. And you've got to understand, we do vote for other candidates here in the same too, we're not a foreign city. But nobody look at that part. Nobody even look at Jacobville. Yeah, it sounds good. I'm not gonna say, if you increase it by $6.45 on my bill for the sewer, and that'd be great. Because I've been paying $77.91 a month for the last 11 years. So that's the only proposed thing that I got to say there. Look more deeply to see who's paying more money.
Right.
And I'm like, you're gonna increase it more, so it's gonna come up to next year, $84.40. And you continue to increase it, it's gonna be $110 in 5 years. Yet, that program is gonna give Rialto residents some money back after 5 years. Nobody says anything about Bloomington, you're getting something back. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker is Joseph Shepard. And after him will be Frank Gonzalez. Mr. Shepard, give us your name and address for the record, sir.
Joseph Shepard, address 2883 West, Linde, Linde, Vista Drive, Rialto, 92377. One of the things I'm concerned about is, or questions that I have, is what about all the repos? Where I see, is population going up or down in Rialto? It seems to me with the number of repos going, the population's got to be going somewhere from those repos. And the repos are increasing, and they say they're going to increase some more. The banks aren't going to hold up on them. If we have a diminishing population, how are we going to support continuing increases? We've got increases in gas, we've got increases in food, we've got increases in everything. And now we come back home and we find a notice in the mail and we've got increases in flushing the toilet. You know, let's face life here. With a diminishing population, and it is diminishing, we are going to be faced with more and more costs and less support from an expanding or stable population. So I'd like to know who's doing the long-range planning here. Who's recognizing what the long-range planning requires? Who's going to notify us far enough ahead of time so that we can understand who's doing what, to who, and why? This came to us like a little time bomb. We've only been living here approximately 3 years, and had no notice. We probably wouldn't have bought over there if we'd have known that. The thing is, we're older and we don't have a lot of money. I don't know a lot of older people that have a lot of money. But you guys aren't giving us the input that we need early enough. You're not giving us the input that covers all of the problems. You're only giving us partial input. And it seems to me that you're more concerned about union jobs than you are concerned about us that pay the bills. And it seems to me also that you ought to be notifying us. Anytime I have left, I donate to this gentleman there.
Thank you. Real quick, my name is William Egenmeyer.
I think it's my turn. Excuse me.
If you could fill a form out for me, sir.
I will fill it out right now.
No, you need to go get one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor and council members, my name is Frank Gonzalez. I live at 237 West Rosewood Street here in Rialto. I was here in front of you in June, and I came back in March, and I heard the same thing. From the first time you were going to raise the rates 25%, one time it was 80%, then it was 25% each year for 4 years. Much hasn't changed, other than the fact that you give me more figures to work with. I don't have the luxury of those figures in front of me. And my question to you is, we need to have a little bit more transparency from you, as council members and staff, to let us know what is really going on. Because you tell us we need to do this because it's going to be, we don't want to face emergency and all that. We know that. We don't want to either. But we don't want to just run and hide because you say, well, this is an emergency. We need to know if you've got an emergency coming up, we want to support you. But we don't want to support you just with our paychecks or with our rate increases just because you say we need the extra money. Let's do more planning. Staff, you need to do better planning. And you need to be more transparent as far as what you give the people to read about. Maybe you think we don't read, or maybe you don't think we're not active. We are. We want to make this a better city. And that's why I'm here. Because I know that other citizens in the community are very interested in what's going on here. And I appeal to you to be more transparent as far as what you're doing and why, and how we can be a part of that resolution. Not part of the problem, how we can be part of that solution. How do we work with you people to get these problems taken care of other than pay more, pay more, pay more? Because you're going to run into a problem where people aren't going to pay anything. And then what are you going to do? Let's be realistic. Let's plan a little bit better. We'll work with you. But be more transparent, be more accommodating to people. Let us know what's going on. Don't try to hide because behind these statistics that, Fontana and San Pedro are paid 3 or 4 times more than we are. We can't play catch up in 4 years. We can play catch up in a number of years. Rather than 25%, last time I said 10, 15%, I think a lot of people will be able to say, okay. And I'm not speaking for the community, I'm speaking for me. And I'm saying 5 to 10% over a longer period of time will get you the same amount of money. But if you do planning, appropriate planning, you can get these problems taken care of in a certain amount of time too. They're not going to be taken care of in 4 years. That I can guarantee you. As far as creating jobs, we can work with you on that too, and economic development. Because you ran out of the redevelopment agency doesn't mean that we can't come up with something else. We just need to put our heads together and work together. Rather than you telling us, well, I'm the elected official and I know what's best for you. You don't know what's best for me. But I'm willing to work with you to see what's best for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My address is 197 Meadow Lane in Rialto. I've lived in Rialto for 46 years now. I have attended all of the presentations, and I believe that we have what I call 4 options to address a rapidly deteriorating water and sewer system. For 25 years, we have declined to raise rates enough to set aside money to one day replace our systems. Well, that day has come, and we have no money. So do we, 1, ignore the problem and hope it won't come back to haunt us? Very foolish. 2, raise the rates slowly as we should have done for the past 25 years and hope that the Band-Aid approach will not use up the monies we are trying to set aside. I'm sorry to say that we're beyond that solution too. 3, raise the rates substantially, using the money to pay the bonds for all the infrastructure, and continue to contract out the management of the sewer facility and run the water department ourselves. Possible option, but the bond rate would be higher because of insufficient city assets. And do we really have the expertise to manage the sewer and water in this age of environmental requests and requirements? 4, raise the rates substantially as an option 3, have American Water do the bonds for the infrastructure at a lower rate because of the low risk liability, and front the money for all the capital improvements, 42 projects, to be done in 5 years. American Water would then manage the sewer and water, keeping them maintained and repaired. People have asked, why can't the city do that? Well, for one thing, the city doesn't have the expertise in all the environmental issues facing many cities today, and American Water does. 2, we already contract out the management of the sewer facility. This would put both the management of the sewer and water with American Water. They have been in business doing this only doing this for 125 years. Rialto has been incorporated for 100 years. As I was not around then, I don't know how the sewer and water systems were handled. The question has arisen about what happens from year 6 to 11 and year 12 to 17. Prop 218 only allows for a 5-year rate structure. In year 6, another 5-year rate structure will be developed per Prop 218 to be approved by the citizens. That will continue for every 5 years after that. People, we are at a point of no return. As you can see, the options are not many, and we have to act now. As I said before, to not act is foolish. Our water and sewer lines are only going to get worse, not better. And if any of you in the audience have a better solution, I'd love to hear it. I have yet to hear how the people who say no will address the deteriorating systems. I was asked if I was back on city council today, would I vote for this? My answer is yes. We owe it to our children and our grandchildren to not have to worry about whether we have safe sewer and water.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Edward Carrillo, 112 East 1st Street, Rialto. In March, our mayor and council made the difficult but necessary choice to invest in Rialto's water and wastewater system. A lot of the comments that Mitch made are right on, and she took a lot of them from me. That instead of waiting for the next city council, hoping that they will handle the problem or waiting for a financial miracle, the mayor and the council decided to act, and I applaud you for that. It wasn't an easy choice, I know, and it wasn't even a popular choice, as we all know, as elected officials, but it was the right choice. This type of courage and leadership will build a strong, productive Rialto. A productive Rialto will provide for local stability. I am a homeowner and a small business owner here in Rialto. So creating jobs and prosperity are essential for a productive Rialto. To preserve our home values and attract strong businesses to Rialto, we need a reliable water and wastewater system. I'm glad to see that our city understands, our city leaders understand that we need a strong, productive Rialto for our future. So the city has taken the wise steps of saying now is the time to focus on building a strong Rialto. And now is the time to bring our city water and wastewater systems, infrastructure into the 21st century. So on behalf of the Rialto Chamber of Commerce and its board of directors, we urge you to continue to move forward in building a strong and productive Rialto. Thank you.
The next speaker is Ellen Milky.
Helen Milky. My address is 10543 Tumbleway in Bloomington. I'm here, and with the job I do a lot of sewage calls, and I understand that the city of Rialto does have the issue with sewage. However, the people in Bloomington at this point have paid over $1 million extra because there's 150 units in my complex. Each one is paying $50 a month more for 12 years at least. So that's over $1 million that we have been paying to the city within the past 12 years. Now you want us to pay $102 extra just to flush a toilet. We don't pay the water. We would if it was, we wouldn't mind. I understand your issue with the sewage. However, if you would bring everyone up to our level of payment and then increase everyone as needed, we wouldn't have this issue with the city. I am a single income now. When we bought our house, there were two of us working. My husband got laid off and we're struggling. We're going to lose our house. And $102 may not mean much to you, but it's my home to me. I'm sorry.
Next speaker is Steve Cameron. And Mr. Burns Stroud will be after.
My name is Steve Cameron. Good evening, council, residents. I live at 630 North Encina Avenue in Rialto, kind of on the north side. I'm not totally against the rate increases, but I came here to protest the amount of the rate increases on the sewer and the water. By my conservative estimates, about 145% on the water and 132 on the sewer. And you know, I'm not sure how many of you actually live here in the city and shop in the city, but our senior citizens out there, I'm out there every day. I go to Staters and the local Hispanic markets because I'm not that affluent where I can shop in. I probably wouldn't live here. But I see people putting food back from their carts. I'm not talking booze and steaks, salmon and crab. I'm talking basic staples that our old people have to put back on the shelf because they can't afford it. And the 20% discount you're giving the low income, I see it in the low income people. You have 2 and 3 families off the record out there living together because they can't afford this stuff. So I'm not against it because I work for a utility, and I agree you have to do upgrades, you have to do maintenance, and we have to do capital improvements on this. The problem is the amount in such a short period of time. The 20% that you're proposing for low-income families or senior citizens is almost like a slap in the face to them. They already can't hardly afford it. And to go up over 100% on each of these, I question how much of this is considered for the old people and the low incomes. I mean, the rest of us that work for a living, it's still a hassle. It's a major expenditure, but we have to do something. But I think the amount of the increase and the timeline for the increases is the hard part that everybody really doesn't want to see. And that's just my take on it. I do appreciate that you understand we have to upgrade and we have to move ahead, but there are some of the things like some of our projects in the city, like cactus beautification. I'm not sure how much that generated an income for us or revenue. The big marquee up there on Riverside. Again, I'm not really sure what purpose that served, but we didn't fight it. I never fought that. The fire department, hey, good move. If we get the police out of the trailer and into a real building, that'd be awesome too. But again, I'm just against rate increases as they stand. Have a nice evening.
Next speaker will be Bill Brooks. Bill. Mr. Stroud? Yes. And then Bill Brooks.
My name is Vernon Stroud. I live at 2164 North Arrowhead Avenue, Rialto. My wife and I have been here for 3 years. If we had known this was going to happen, we probably would have considered buying somewhere else. However, I'm not totally against the increase for one reason. I know there have to be improvements, and the improvements have to be made before something catastrophic happens, and it costs us even more money. The problem I have with it is, why are we contracting this out to a company that, if I'm not mistaken right, is a German company? A company that isn't even a part of the state, or the country, much less the state. The first thing that comes to mind is Enron. And we all know what happened with Enron. Arizona company owning our electricity, raising the rates, and getting totally ridiculous to the point where we had rolling blackouts. Another issue I have are the jobs that are supposed to be created. The question is, what kind of jobs? How long will these jobs last? And exactly who will be working these jobs? Are these jobs going to be worked by contractors who live elsewhere, not in the city? In which case, that revenue, most of that revenue is not coming to this city. So what's the point? That are guaranteed to create revenue for this city, long-term jobs, not jobs that will last 5 years and then go away. Because if I'm not mistaken, this contract with this company is supposed to last, it's either 18 years or 30 years, I'm not sure. 30 years. We don't know what's going to happen before those 30 years pass, how high the rates are going to go, and at the end of, 5 years for these jobs? Then whatever kind of jobs you're going to create, that revenue is not going to be enough. Not to continue to pay for this. Now, I understand our rates are supposed to make up the difference. But like the previous gentleman said, a lot of our seniors and fixed income people can't afford those rates. So my question is, can you do a better job of planning? One lady mentioned experts. We don't have the experts, but that doesn't mean we can't get experts to come to this city. I think it should be more diligence in planning, and this should be thought out even more than just allowing some company that really has nothing to do with this city to run our water system.
I'm Bill Brooks, and I live at 2854 West Cali Vista Drive, 19377. I agree with the gentleman who's just up here. One thing I haven't seen, I don't know what the cost benefit for this project is. I used to be a budget analyst for city governments, and what's the cost benefit? Why can't you hire the expertise that you need to do the job, run it, have all those jobs be here because of these city employees?
Right.
Doesn't make any sense to me. I haven't seen a comparison. If you don't go that one, you go to a 30-year deal with AMR, or whatever they're called. What's really the benefit? How is that going to benefit the community? I would like to know that. The other thing I'm a little disturbed at is that I looked at our rates are going to go up, they're going to triple over a 5-year period. Okay, what the hell am I getting for that money? What are people here getting for that money? When we talk about improving quality of our sewer system and water systems, I don't know what the priorities are. I don't know what's absolutely essential. I haven't seen a thing in writing that testifies to that. So yes, did I vote? Did I protest? You bet I did when I found out about this thing. Couldn't believe it. And I just have a couple questions for my own edification, and I'll get off my high horse. Is the RUA an enterprise fund?
I have to answer you.
RUA, is it an enterprise fund?
Sir, we're not here to answer questions. We are listening.
No, that was just my own information.
We can answer whatever questions we can after everybody gets done speaking.
Okay, that's fine. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Next speaker would be William Hagemeyer.
I won't repeat what my name's William Hagemeyer. I live at 1484 North Joyce Avenue, Rialto. And I won't go over what other speakers have. I did a quick web search of American Waters to see what their history of performance has been. It's been very enlightening. Just this year alone, January 2012, the National Labor Relations Board issued a complaint against American Water for illegal cutting of health care costs and benefits to its hourly workers. So obviously they're not taking care of their own. May 16th of this year, Arizona Sun residents are now protesting against American water rates after their 5-year see what we can do. The news feed showed several residents' rates went from $60 to $70 per month to over $500 per month. Just this month, New Jersey, several townships in New Jersey, Bedminster, Chester Township, Far Hills, Peapack, Gladstone, Potterville, and Tewksbury now have to boil their water under American Water Service. Earlier, I can go back to 2006, that's as far as I got, just 45 minutes of web searching. So I have a concern with the company that you're doing the contract with. So I have a simple question. My question is, I would like to see in the contract, is there a metrics that links these so-called improvements and infrastructure build-ups to, and ties them directly to the rate increases? That should be written in the contract. If they don't perform it, then they don't get the rate increases. The other concern I have is earlier in, City of Indianapolis made a discovery in 2009. They were also under American Water, that American Water has been deferring their actual investment in the infrastructure and maintenance there. And so they got a severe boost in their rates because they weren't performing their duties. So unless this contract has specific metrics linking these rate increases to their actual performance, it's a bad contract to do, given their present history.
That concludes all the requests to speak tonight. The mayor's going to step out for a few minutes before we
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Is there any objections? Hearing none, public hearing is closed. This will now open it up from comments by the city council and questions. And I'd like to make a couple of comments and observations to begin with. Those of you that live down in Bloomington in the Young Home Project, just to give the rest of the people in this room, in this community, a little history on that. The Young Home Project is in the county of San Bernardino. It is not in the city of Rialto. One of the conditions the county put on that project to be built was that it had to hook to Rialto's water system, or Fontana's water system. The developer came to Rialto, asked to hook to our system. We explained to him the triple fee process. And that process is in place because the residents of Rialto paid for their sewer system, not the residents of Bloomington, not the residents of Fontana. The residents of Rialto paid for it. That developer agreed to that triple fee. In turn, he was supposed to notify each and every person that bought a home prior to the buying of that home that it was a triple fee. That is in the deeds and titles of those homes. While we certainly understand your dilemma in that situation, the developer, Young Homes, fully knew that in the very beginning. And I will tell you for the record, I voted against that project for this very reason, because it's expensive, it's never told to people who buy homes, they don't read their deeds, they don't read the titles, they don't read what the title company gives them. They move into the house and then they find out they got triple fees. Now I will tell you that Councilmember Robertson and I had a discussion last week in our Economic Development Committee meeting about this very subject. And we have asked staff to look at that and come back with a more reasonable solution and frankly some relief for those people down there. We've also asked staff to come back with a policy that any developer in the county area that wishes to hook to our sewer system in the future would be required to pay the cost of that hookup up front and not be allowed to pass it on to people who buy homes. It's a nightmare for us, and we totally understand you. We don't disagree with you. We've also asked staff to look at if this water rate increase goes through, relief for you, for those of you that live down there, so that you're not burdened with triple fees of 115%. So we know there's a problem. We're working on it. If the rate increases are successful, we will be bringing it back to the City Council asking for some assistance for those living down in that Bloomington area. So I just wanted you to know that. A couple other brief things. Somebody made mention about the billboard up at Riverside and the 210 freeway. That's not our billboard. That belongs to a private company. They put it up. A requirement we put upon them was that they put Rialto on the billboard so people who drive by know where Rialto is. It does not belong to us. We pay a dime for it. We have no investment in it. It's just simply not ours. American Water. Tonight is not about American Water. Tonight is about rate increases. American Water is not a German company. It's a New Jersey company. You can go online and find bad things about anybody. The fact is that the sewer plant in this city currently is operated by a company called Veolia Water. Veolia Water is a French company. Not an American company, not a German company, it's a French company. That sewer plant has been operated by an outside company for over 25 years. And up until this point, nobody has ever questioned it. I'm going to ask somebody to address the question on whether the RUA is an enterprise or not. If you'll hang on a second. The reality of the rate increase is we've done what is proper in this city. We've sent it out for a protest vote. Those of you that own property, I'm one of them. I live here in this city just like everybody else up here. In order to be on the city council, you just have to live in the city. I own a business in this city, so I pay 2 water bills. I know how I voted, and I voted the way I felt was right. Everybody who's on water service or a property owner had the opportunity to protest this vote. Next Tuesday, those votes are going to be counted. Whether it goes yes or no is not this council's decision. It's the decision of the property owners, and those are both the water service. So we've done the right thing. Whether or not the residents do what needs to be done is another question. Our water and sewer system is in very bad shape. And it's in bad shape because we have had no rate increases for 12 years. And we've had very minimal increases before that. If we were to have an earthquake tomorrow, most of you in this city would have no sewer service and you would have no water service. If you're in the West Valley area, you would most assuredly probably have water. If you're in the Rialto area, you're probably not going to have water because there's some bad systems here that need to be, and valves and stuff that need to be replaced that have not been done. We have to move this city forward, both in infrastructure and both in growth. And this is part of what we're trying to do up here. And we have spent over 2 years doing this. We have had workshop after workshop after workshop. We've sent out mailers. We've done everything we can do to inform the community of what we're asking for. And we've left it in the hands, as is required by state law, for the property owners and the rate users to vote. If you doesn't want it, you vote against it. We have a whole bunch of votes up here tonight that will be counted again next Tuesday night, and it'll go one way or the other. You will decide the fate of this city. You'll decide the fate of the water system and the sewer system. Whatever way it goes, this council will fully accept that, and we'll do what we have to do to continue to do business in the city.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilmember Ed Palmer.
Just a couple of things. I think Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Scott stole my thunder. One of the last meetings we had when this issue came up was the first time I had heard that the Bloomington people were paying 3 times the rates. I did not know that. I wasn't here when that was implemented however many years ago, as most of the council members probably weren't. And right after I heard that night, I talked to the city administrator. I said, let's look at that. Why are they paying 3 times the amount? I don't know why. But let's look at it and see if we can reduce it. So I was happy to hear that it went to EDC. I just found that out tonight also. That it went to EDC and you guys talked about it. And there may be and it's probably 100% possibility that it's going to get reduced down and you won't be paying 3 times. Probably be paying a little bit more, but not 3 times the amount. So we're looking at that. I'm glad that's happening. I did bring that up before. I did want to mention something on the gentleman that said that the population is going down. I think I remember our census that was taken, we were right around 99,000 people. I read today that as of March 1st, we went over the 100,000 mark. We're 100,606 people in Rialto right now. So we're actually not going down despite all the foreclosures. We're going up in population. So the last several months we've gone up 1,000 people living in Rialto. Now, I don't begrudge people the right as their right and their duty to protest. I mean, that's what our country's all about. I would hope that it would be done in a fair way and a proper way. I'm just going to relate to you something that happened, which I found kind of funny but kind of disturbing. Somebody from the SOS group actually went to my office on Riverside Avenue, and name's clear, Evan Palmer, attorney at law, in my office right now. If you don't associate that with Evan Palmer, council member, I don't know what's going on, but they actually went to my office at about 5 o'clock. That would have been the night of Taste of Rialto. And I got a call from my secretary. I was not there. And my secretary said that there was some lady at the office who represented, she was from the city of Rialto, from the water department, and needed me to sign a piece of paper. And I said, well, couldn't make out what that was. I said, she wants me to sign what? And where's she from? She says she's from the Rialto Water Department and wants us to sign a piece of paper. I told her you weren't here, and she says, that's okay, you can sign his name if you're in charge of the office. She's bright enough, she's my secretary, but she called me on the phone and said, this lady wanted to sign it. And I said, put the lady on the phone, and then she told me actually who she was from the SOS group, and wanted me to sign the protest. I did not sign it. And I told her that I was very upset that she would ask somebody in my office who was not me to sign my name to that piece of paper. So, you know, that's your duty to go out and do what you have to do, but I believe that she did it in a fair manner and a proper manner. And that was just something that kind of hurt me. It was funny that they didn't know where I was actually. Went to my office, but in the same way, it caused me to be a little concerned. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Councilmember Riverlawn.
Yes, just a few comments, and I'm hoping that we will give staff time to answer questions that were raised and provide information on many things, such as you said in the price drop question. One other thing in the comment, as Mayor Pro Tem said about the triple fees for the residents in Bloomington, I don't know if we covered, but in addition to the triple fees, we also have a matter with some of our residents who are in the city and they've been paying what we call a standby fee. It's a fee that they've been paying to get hooked up to the system, and that's another thing that we want to have the staff look at and address that as well, because that is, when I think somebody commented, one of the citizens spoke about long-range planning. Well, that was a process tied to a long-range plan, knowing that at some point in the future, someone will hook those residents to the system. But that's been going on for quite some time, even before I've been on council. That's a process in place. And there's a lot of things that we need to address. I just would like to say, and then addressing maybe, there was a question raised about the contractual arrangement with American Water, even though, as Mayor Pro Tem said, this is not about American Water tonight, this is about the rate increase, but the comment about the matrix, and I would take that as the language that ties to the performance and their contractual commitment to perform. Earlier, one of the gentlemen got up and he made a comment about, the first speaker, about the people to the left are the future and the people to the right are the past. And thank God, this is a democracy. And I guess my first thought was, yes, thank God it is a democracy. And because it is a democracy, it's one of the reasons why I'm sitting here. We do still have in this country the right to vote and pick and choose who we would like to represent us, because we all can't sit up here and make the decisions. And I don't think every day and every week and every month everybody would want to be poring over every decision. However, it is a democracy, and if that was some veiled suggestion, I think the comment about recalls or whatever, that's fine too. I mean, I'm invested in this community as well as the evidence up here. I own a home and I own a rental property, which is my private home. Since November, as a one owner, landlord, who is not absent, because I'm only 3 blocks around the corner from my previous residence, I have had to call out a plumbing company to clear the drains to the property as a single level resident 3 times since November. Fortunately, I have a gentleman who come out, which I'm going to give a shout out for a local business member who did an outstanding job. If you have a problem, I know we have a lot of them, but I would just like to give one good shout out for Chico's Plumbing that's here in Rialto. And he explained a lot of things to me about my system on Memorial Day weekend. But the bigger thing is, the house was built in '68. I've already changed the pipes in the house to PVC, but it's tied into an old system in the street, the sewer, the laterals, all you guys know terminology. And so it's only so much I can do, and at some point, the systems in the street that it's tied to has to be addressed. They're going to have to be improved, upgraded. And it's funny because I was sharing with some other residents when they were sharing with me about their concerns about the rates, is that we chuckled. One of the gentlemen was up here speaking tonight, that, he's in the heart of the city along with me, and some of the other residents who are north of Baseline, especially up in Las Colinas, you have a really newer system. This Colinas was built in the early 80s, I believe, late 80s. However, everything flows down, and it flows into an old system. And if that old system collapses, and eventually, and it's not a scare, because I've built down 3 times since November. If the system collapses, and what you're flowing into in the new system will back up to the old system. And those of us in the older part of the community, we're also going to be. So we kind of did a laugh saying, okay, so we're the cause. If you end up with your toilets and everything backing up somewhere all the way up north to Las Colinas, it's because it's collapsing in the whole system. You may not believe it, you may think it's a joke, but I guess the reality is we've looked at it. We've had to look at the documents, look at the material, look at where we need to do work. We need to look at some things. Again, speaking to someone saying about planning, unfortunately, sadly, we probably still are not doing the best job in planning some things. And I thank God we have a new public works director who he's already got something before him he has to look at. Because a lot of you have called and said, you need your roads paved. You got grass growing up in the middle of the asphalt. You want the roads paved. And we have always said, one thing that gets all of us, and me especially, is to grind the road down to subgrade, put you in a new road, And then hopefully within 5 years, if not sooner, if we were to move forward, we'll have to dig up that road to put in the sewer system, because the sewer system in that road is old. And then you'll be very upset with us because you'll say, well, why didn't you act for that? Since I've been sitting on council, no, there has not been a rate increase or water increase, because just like Mr. Tanagutman said, it hasn't been really in 25 years. And I haven't been on council for 25 years. But when I came, the first